Up until the very end, they played to win. Nagy said today, he's like, look, I just like winning. And it worked. I just hope those guys are all right.
Thoughts on this matchup early?
I want to first close the page on the Vikings season.
Okay.
I think we went into this year saying Super Bowl or bust. I think that was reasonable.
Yeah.
And it went about as badly as it possibly could. Every time they played a really good team,
No quality
they
wins.
lost. There was not one quality win. And at first it was John DeFilippo. We pointed the finger. We say, okay, let's get him out. Now it's Kirk Cousins. And now you're starting to hear grumblings. According to Tom Pelissero there in the Minnesota market, there's thoughts of, is Zimmer safe? And maybe Mike Zimmer's the one to blame. It just went about as poorly as it could have gone yesterday. And I do say this. There are so many people to blame, and there's so many ways these things can go. But man, is this going to be a long offseason for that quarterback right there. Because we went into that game saying he's never won a big game. He hasn't won in a big spot. And is it all on him? No, of course not. It's never on him. There's 53 guys on a roster. But when you're paid that money and they make that decision, you are the quarterback. And it's going to be really hard for me, regardless of who their head coach is, regardless of what they do in the offseason with the OC. It's going to be really hard for me to have any confidence in the Vikings all offseason going into next year based on the taste that I have left in my mouth from that. That was a horrible, horrible performance from that entire team last night.
Pungent images, too. I mean, last year, we end the season, the whole offseason, it's Stephon Diggs scoring and throwing his helmet in celebration. We just showed the highlight. Stephon Diggs is spiking his helmet. The symmetry is terrible. Sometimes you see these images, good or bad, you know this is the offseason. Him, Cousins and Thielen talking and doing this is for the next 9 months. And it should be, because I don't know if you watched the game, if you saw the score, if you saw it on your phone. They never had it. They never had it for 1 second. Even when the Bears pulled their defensive starters, they still didn't have it. I cannot believe they showed up that empty offensively. It was a zero. I love Kirk Cousins as a person, as a player. It was zero.
There was no sense of, this is it. This is all we have. We're going to lay it all out there. It was flat for 4 quarters.
And here's a nugget that you could take with you. So 6 of the top paid quarterbacks in this league: Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan. They'll all be sitting at home in January watching other teams. And that isn't a shot to these quarterbacks. It isn't a shot to these teams that have to pay these quarterbacks. It's basically saying when you pay a guy, that isn't going to automatically get you into the playoffs. Now, Kirk Cousins, if he's a real leader on this team, he'll raise his hand and say, some of these moments this year were mine. Some of these games I could have willed us to win just a little bit more. I could have played better. But there also was coaching issues. There was a coaching change late in the season. There was inconsistency with the running game, passing game. There was inconsistency with protecting him. So for me, when these teams look forward into free agency and paying these top-tier quarterbacks, just remember, once you cut the check, that doesn't buy you a ticket into the playoffs. There's so much more than writing that big check to these quarterbacks.
What's wild is I think if you looked on paper before the season starts, and I know GMs around the league who are watching and say, that's not true, I'd say the Steelers and the Vikings might have had the most talented rosters in all of football.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you don't win games on paper. There's something that happens in the locker room, something that happens on the field. And a team like the Bears, where on paper you'd say, well, this doesn't have the best quarterback.
But they're rebuilding something, Shay.
First-year coach.
Sometimes there's a magic in the building, and the Vikings did not have it all season. It just wasn't there. The Vikings never won a big game all season.
I look at it the same way. We just kept waiting, kind of like we were waiting for Rodgers to turn around the Packers. It didn't happen. The Vikings, every time there's a game that we can beat these guys, they would beat it. Every time there was a test game, are they here? They would lose. They would lose. It never got there.
Schrags, you're getting some grief on Twitter from Bears fans saying you never prop them up, which isn't true. You give them a lot of credit. That is the truth, and I'm attesting to that. Were you impressed by them yesterday?
Yeah, they had no real reason, playoff implication-wise, to keep all the pedal on the metal, and they beat a team that was playing for their playoff lives at home with a fan base that had been to the NFC Championship game a year ago and been suffered hard. The Bears came in there and they beat the Vikings so handily that it's really hard for me to envision the Eagles doing anything with dominance over the Bears team. That Bears team was so good yesterday, and it wasn't even all their top guys in the fourth.
Is there anybody in the NFC playing better football than the Bears all around?
No.
It's maybe Philly, but the Bears are a more complete team. I think they're right now playing your best football end of January.
I'm not looking past the Eagles.
Yeah.
But Bears-Rams in the divisional round is really, really tasty. Offense versus defense, how would that clash?
Yeah, either of these games, when you're looking at the slate, they can go one way or the other. I'm not convinced that one team is more dominant, even when looking at the Saints and the Rams. I mean, the schedule says that they're the best teams in the NFC. When you look at how well these teams are playing, to Kyle's point, it's all about playing great right now. So if you're the Bears, if you're the Philly going in with Nick Foles, you're not sitting there looking at any team, fearing them. You're like, you know what? We're as good as anybody. And they should go into games like that.
Philly goes to Chicago, the Alshon Jeffrey revenge game, the Trey Burton revenge game, the see how all of that works out at Soldier Field on Sunday afternoon. Ian Rappaport's here, our NFL Network insider, with the latest on what's shaking across the league. So, Ian, the Packers and the Browns season's over, and they can start their head coaching search.
Let's actually start with some news I just got a couple seconds ago. There's a staff meeting going on right now with the Arizona Cardinals. Steve Wilks addressing his staff, and he has told them that he will no longer be their head coach. Wilks expected to be out as the coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He has told his staff, hasn't heard it officially from Michael Bidwill, the owner, but very clear this is something that is happening. Wilks knows it is happening, just has not yet, in fact, been made official. So the Arizona Cardinals likely to join, expected to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Browns, the Packers, and the Jets among those teams who have openings. And, of course, Steve Wilks expected to go one and done in Arizona. Just 1 year, obviously a lot of issues on the roster and with the team, not a lot of success. And now, once again, they're going to be looking for a new coach.
3-13 this season. Wilks is out as the head coach after just 1 year, as you said. Ian Rappaport, thank you. We'll talk to you throughout the day on the other coaching vacancies and what else is shaken around the league. Wilks out. Surprised?
Wilks out. Yeah, a little surprised, but then the last couple of days, it's the writings on the wall. Steve has known for a couple of days now that he was going to be let go, and now you look at that team and you say, well, what's next? And I think Josh Rosen's the most important piece. And this year they had Mike McCoy. They let him go midseason. Byron Leftwich, who had never been an offensive coordinator, was the guy with obviously Josh Rosen, a rookie quarterback, and you look around the league, you say, where can we grow with Josh Rosen? I think offensive mind is the way to go. One intriguing name, though, maybe not for the head coaching job, but if you compare a young offensive coordinator or a young offensive mind or even a veteran offensive mind, then you think about who the defensive coordinator was in Arizona for a lot of their successful years. It was Todd Bowles. So Todd Bowles loses his job in New York. Does he have a landing spot as a defensive coordinator and maybe even interview for the head coaching job in Arizona? That's a possibility, but I think offensive mind, get Josh Rosen, the same thing that they're going to try to get Sam Darnold here in New York, and the same thing they're going to try to get Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Who is that Sean McVay to my Jared Goff? Who is that Doug Peterson to my Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
Who is going to take my young quarterback and get him to where we got to be? Because Steve Wilks was a defensive coordinator, and then he was a defensive-minded coach. It was never really going to gel as far as the quarterback guru.
It's jarring when you see a one and done.
One and done.
Because a year ago, the Cardinals had a press conference and said, this is our guy. We believe in him as a franchise. He's going to take us to the next level. And then a year later, how are we supposed to believe in the next guy? We said that. However,
Exactly.
That's my initial instinct. However, I think the hardest thing to do, especially in a world of NFL, machismo, and egos, is admit we got it wrong. And it's very easy. How many times we say, well, we'll give him another year. No. If you don't like where it's going, if it's not working, rip it off now. There's a lot of teams we give him another, and then we give him a third year, and next thing you know, we haven't made the playoffs in forever. I respect the team admitting that they had it wrong, and they did if they fired him after 1 year, rather than just say the hubris of, no, we will make, no. I actually like it.
It doesn't happen very often. Chip Kelly, the last guy to be
Yeah,
one
the
and done.
Niners, it's very rare to happen.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you, Kyle.
Do you?
Yeah, one season.
He also had Patrick Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald come out with him the last couple of days, say, this is our guy.
This is our guy.
They also played like amazing yesterday.
Yeah, listen, you have a rookie head coach who finishes the season with a rookie offensive coordinator and finishes the season with a rookie quarterback.
And a rookie defensive coordinator, Al Holcomb.
In the same season where the guy you gave the big bag of money to, the free agent quarterback, Sam Bradford, didn't fulfill expectations. So there's all these moving pieces, along with David Johnson, who didn't put up 1,000 like he told us when he joined us in the offseason. So there's all these moving parts that happen underneath the umbrella of the head coach that automatically get pointed to him. And if you're that coach, what can you do in one season? You can't fix the world in one season.
There are 3 different teams that are seeing coaching fires so far, and we've seen the Jets, where a lot of people say, what do you have to play? Why is that GM safe? The Buccaneers say, well, why is the GM safe? And now the Cardinals, people are saying, well, why is the GM safe? It's a very interesting year where 3 head coaches got shown the door. But the groceries that they were cooking with weren't exactly up to snuff with some of the other stuff around the league.
Talk about
Wilks
it.
have a home somewhere in the NFL?
I think Wilks will be a defensive coach somewhere in the NFL, and Ron Rivera has been very, very good to Steve Wilks' entire career. I wonder if Carolina's a good landing spot for him.
Cardinals have parted ways with their first-year head coach, Steve Wilks. We've got a bunch of vacancies across the league.